New this morning, former President Donald Trump saying he'll leave it up to the states to make decisions on abortion rights if he wins in 2024. Trump stressed there should be, in his opinion, exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. Abortion rights expected to be one of the big issues for voters in November. CNN reporter Elena Treen is following all this. Elena, when you look at all that he said, he promised he was going to put something out. What else did he lay out for the American people?
Right. Well, after months, I should say, not just weeks, of sidestepping this issue and not being very clear with where he stands on abortion, Donald Trump released a video statement this morning saying that he believes it should be left up to the states. He also took credit for overturning Roe versus Wade, saying that he had stacked the Supreme Court with the 3 conservative justices that helped do that. And that's kind of where he leaves this. And I want to just remind you, Sarah, that this is exactly what we have seen from him from months. He believes that this issue is a political loser. That's what he tells people privately and publicly. He notes that this is something that Republicans are very vulnerable on, and he recognizes the political landmine that kind of comes with this issue. I want you to just take a listen to how he phrased it in that video.
My view is now that we have abortion where everybody wanted it from a legal standpoint, the states will determine by vote or legislation or perhaps both, and whatever they decide must be the law of the land, in this case, the law of the state. Now it's up to the states to do the right thing. Like Ronald Reagan, I am strongly in favor of exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. You must follow your heart of this issue, but remember, you must also win elections to restore our culture.
So there you heard it from him himself. You must win elections. And that's really what some of this comes down to. Now, I can tell you that this is not exactly resonating well with some of Donald Trump's anti-abortion allies and pro-life groups. We had a statement from Marjorie Dannensfelder this morning to CNN where she told me that she's deeply disappointed in this statement from Donald Trump. I'm going to quickly read some of that for you. She said, "We are deeply disappointed in President Trump's position. Unborn children and their mothers deserve national protections and national advocacy from the brutality of the abortion industry." The statement goes on to say, saying the issue is, quote, back to the states, cedes the national abortion bait to the Democrats. And so definitely not what I think a lot of his leading anti-abortion allies had wanted him to do, not going as far as they thought he should, again, with Donald Trump just leaving this to the states. Sarah?
All right. Elena Treen, thank you so much.
Just a short time ago, Donald Trump posted a video on his stance on abortion after reportedly, privately, saying he supported a federal 15 or 16-week ban. He did not take a stance this morning on a federal ban. Instead, he said it should be left up to the states. He said he did personally support some exceptions. With us now, Congressman Adriano Espaillat, a Democrat from New York. Congressman, thank you so much for being with us. So no stance on a federal ban, says it should be left up to the states. What does that tell you?
Well, he's ducking a very important issue that obviously the American public is very concerned about. Women deserve to have reproductive rights, and politically, it polls extremely well for Democrats. The elections could ride on this issue, and he's ducking it.
Do you think that he is occupying some kind of middle ground here?
He hasn't said so, but he should be very specific about what his stance is. He shouldn't duck this issue. This is an important one for the American public. Women deserve to have the right to reproductive rights, and I don't think it should be left to the states.
All right, with us now, former White House spokesman for President George W. Bush, Pete Seat, and Democratic strategist and co-founder of Lift Up Your Voices, Julie Rosinski. Friends, I want to ask you both about the statement from Donald Trump just a short time ago, where he weighed in on his stance on abortion. People had been waiting for this. He had been suggesting he would make some kind of big policy pronouncement. In private, he'd been saying he would support a 15 or 16-week federal ban on abortion. But the statement this morning, all he said is he thinks it should be left up to the states, and he does support some exceptions. So, Julie, I want your reaction to that. Is that some middle ground?
Well, it was quite a word salad, John, so it was a little hard to parse. But from what I can tell, he patted himself on the back for abolishing Roe versus Wade, congratulated the justices he appointed to make that happen. and supported all the states that are banning abortion virtually at conception at this point. So I don't think there's much change from what's going on now in some of these states that are leading to horrific outcomes for women from what Donald Trump proposes to do if he were to get back into the White House.
And Pete, on the other side, though, there are some anti-abortion groups that are disappointed with what Donald Trump said about this. Literally, the Susan B. Anthony pro-life statement was this: "We are deeply disappointed in President Trump's position, saying the issue is back to the states cedes the national debate to the Democrats, who are working relentlessly to enact legislation mandating abortion throughout all 9 months of pregnancy." Does this have any effect with complaints from the right, Pete?
Well, leave it to Donald Trump to not be eclipsed by anything, including a once-in-a-lifetime celestial event, to put this statement out this morning. What really struck me, John, though, in this transcript is the hard pivot he made to politics and to this election cycle. It really sounds to me like he understands there's really no middle ground here. There is no way to make both sides happy. So he's trying to do something to energize Republicans in these states where we're going to see referendums on abortion. And he has a chance to potentially lose if a lot of Democrats show up to vote. So that's what I got out of this. It wasn't about the policy, but so much about the politics.
But I guess, Pete, is there anyone on the right less likely to vote for him because he didn't support a federal ban on abortion?
No, I mean, the Susan B. Anthony group they need to do what they have to do, right? This is what their group is all about. It's about pro-life. It's about opposing abortion. So they're going to put this statement out. It's unsurprising to me that they are not happy with what he had to say. I think in the end, they're going to vote for him because they know Donald Trump is the best candidate for the issue they care about most.
And Julie, I'm so sorry that I stepped on what you were saying there. The flip side of that is, is there any Democratic or pro-choice voter who's going to say, I'm going to think twice about Donald Trump because he doesn't support a federal ban?
Look, anybody who's a pro-choice voter has been seeing what's been going on in places like Alabama and Texas and now Florida and other states that have moved to very quickly ban abortion for rape survivors, for women who are desperate to have children but literally are dying from their pregnancies. And so when you see that kind of behavior already taking place, you remember what made that possible. What made that possible was a Trump presidency that appointed Supreme Court justices that enabled this kind of action. So there's not one pro-choice voter who's going to read what Donald Trump said today and then say, oh, wait a second. Now I think, now this all makes sense to me. Now I've seen the light. He has not made either side happy, which, in typical Donald Trump fashion, his followers will follow him over the cliff wherever he goes. But for anybody who's undecided, I just don't see that the statement today makes either side happy.
So, Julia, what does he get out of it then? I mean, I guess, you guys have gone back and forth on this. Neither side likely will be satisfied. He doesn't win anyone here. So what does he get?
Well, I think he's probably trying to make it clear that he doesn't support the IVF actions that are really extreme. And that's what you saw in that statement. A lot of it focused on that. A lot of it focused on congratulating himself on appointing these justices who banned Roe versus Wade or overturned Roe versus Wade. And so I think a lot of it was just self-congratulatory and then trying to get out of this whole IVF debacle that the overturn of Roe versus Wade has now led to in places like Alabama. And so it's not artful. It's not skillful, and actually it's not very Trump-like in the sense that he didn't really take any declaratory action on either side. It was kind of squishy, which seemed a little out of character. It just shows me that he's very uncomfortable with this issue. He understands its potency, even in places like Ohio and Kansas that are typically Republican but voted overwhelmingly to support abortion rights.
And Pete, will this keep questions from being asked going forward? Is this now settled?
Well, I think a position is better than no position. Donald Trump has been hitting fellow Republicans for being what he said is inarticulate on the topic of abortion. Democrats have been able to paint Republicans as extremists because there hasn't been a clear position. This might not be the right position. It might not make everyone happy, but at least it's something to stand on moving forward.